Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Asif. I'm going to analyze one of the best poems of Thomas Hood, that's I Remember, I Remember. In this video, I'm gonna have in-depth analysis of this poem with multiple choice questions. Let's move on. Before we move on, let's know something about the poet Thomas Hood. He was born in 1799 and passed away in 1845. 1799, 1845. These 2 years are very important one. So he was a British poet. Remember this, his nationality British poet and humorist. He was born in London to Thomas Hood and Elizabeth Sands. Elder Hood was a painter in bookshop Werner Hood and Sharp. Wood began his career contributing humorous and poetical pieces to local newspapers and journals. He was most widely known for The Song of the Spirit, which features a London seamstress struggling to make ends meet and feed her malnourished and sick child. Hood's poems appeared in Punch and many leading magazines of the time. His other works include Odes and Address to Great People 1825, Whims and Oddities 1826, The Dream of Eugene Aram, The Murderer 1831, The Comic Annual 1830 42, and Up the Rhine 1840. Let's move on to the poem. I remember, I remember. So here you see a poet, he is reflecting on something. Till now we don't know what he is talking about. When we move ahead, then we come to know about that. He says that the house where I was born. So he is remembering the house where he was born. The little windows where the sun came peeping in at morning. So he remembers the house where there was a little window. From that window, sun rays were coming. So sun came peeping. So you see that sun is an inanimate object, but here poet has given it human qualities, so it's a personification. Sun is personified here. So peeping means like looking very quickly. So he says that when he was a small child, he could see sun peeping across the windows at morning. He never came a wink too soon, nor brought too long a day. So he means sun, never came a wink too soon. So he describes the course of the sun. He says that sun never came too soon or never went after a long time, because sun has got no a fixed course. It has got no the sunrise and sunset both are fixed. So he says that, but now I often wish the night had borne my breath away. So here actually he says that first of all in this stanza he reflects on his childhood days where he could see that sun rays coming through the windows at morning time, and he says that it had fixed time, it never came so soon, never went uh, after a long time. Then he says that that scene was really mesmerizing for the poet, and he says that now at last, and now I often wish the night had borne my breath away. Now he wishes death here. He says that nothing matches his childhood days. So now he is grown up now, so he is remembering his childhood days, he's remembering his house, son, and all that. So he says that that was really a very memorable time. So he's a kind of glorifying his childhood, and he is lamenting living as an adult in society. So next stanza, I remember the roses. Then he first in first stanza he remembered his house. In second stanza he is remembering more things from his past. He says, I remember the roses, red and white, the violets and the lily cups, Now he talks about flowers, different kinds of flowers. In his childhood he remembers them. Those flowers made of light, they were made of light actually. Light, they were very light actually, radiant and bright. So he misses that scene, particular scene from his childhood. So he is remembering different kinds of flowers, like roses of red, white color, and violets, and the lily cup. So he remembers those flowers. The lilacs where the robin built, where my brother set laburnum on his birthday. The tree is living yet. Now he says that now he remembers actually lilacs, small trees where robin built. When robin means actually a very small songbird. So that songbird had a nest in the lilac. He remembers that. And then he says that he remembers that when his brother brought uh, laburnum, these were small trees actually, on his birthday, and the tree is still living. So that tree which he had brought on his birthday is still living, means it's still alive, it has not faded. So now this is another aspect of nature he remembers in this second stanza. He remembers roses of different colors, red, white, violet, lily cups, different kinds of flowers. Then he says that those were the days of joys actually for the poet. Then he says that he remembers the robin, songbird, when it built a nest in lilacs. And then he says that he remembers when his brother brought laburnum, small tree actually, on his birthday, and that tree is still living. Then he says that I remember where I was used to swing and thought air must rush as fresh to swallows on the wing. Now he says that he recollects actually his memories. Now he says that he remembers that he used to play uh, on trees. He used to swing actually on trees, and he was very light and carefree in nature. He was enjoying his nature. Uh, then he says that though the air must rush as fresh to swallows on the wing, my spirit flew in feathers then, that is so heavy now. Now he says that when I was a small kid, I was, sorry, swinging like a bird actually, and it was very light movement, and he was carefree. But now he says that his spirit flew in feathers like birds that time. Those were the joys of his childhood. He misses that scene now actually. He is nostalgic, and he is remembering all these uh, scenes from his life when he was a small child. So he used to swing on branches of trees, and he used to have very fresh air. That air was so fresh to swallows, birds actually sitting on wing. And he says that his spirit actually was flying with those birds, but now he says that spirit is heavy now. He's grown up now, he misses that scene. And he say summer pools could hardly cool the fever on my brow. Now he says he talks about the month of summer. He says summer pools hardly cool the fever on my brow. Now fever means actually now you can say the warmth. Now he says the summer pools, even they are hot or warm because of summer season. And he says that he couldn't cool himself actually when he uh, jumped into the pool to take bath, or to be fresh from scorching sun. So even the water in the pool uh, was was hot actually. Now he says that, even I think he talks about, actually you can take this last two lines in present too, because he believes that the summer pools actually they have become hot. He can hardly cool himself, actually he cannot even remove fever from his brow. So this is actually the elements of nature which is going to present in front of reader in this third stanza. And the last stanza, then it says that, I remember the fir trees dark and high. And he talks about fir trees, actually those were dark and very high. I used to think their slender tops were close against the sky. He says when he was a small child, he used to feel that those fir trees, they were very actually tall trees, very very high, high trees. He says that he used to think that time that slender tops of those trees, actually no very narrow trees, they used to look to the poet as if they were touching the sky, as if they were close to the sky. It was a childish ignorance. Now he accepts the fact that he's grown up now, and he says that that was not actually true. It was just his imagination, or it was his ignorance. He used to think that the tree tops, actually the narrow tops of the tree, they were touching the sky. But he said no, that was childish ignorance, that was not true. But he's grown up now. When he looks at those trees now, actually uh, he understands that out of his perception that this is not the reality, it's kind of childish ignorance. At last he says, and now it's little joy to know I am farther off from heaven than when I was a boy. Now he says that's very little joy now for the poet. He feels a little emotional, or you can say sentimental, and he misses his childhood ignorance, actually. He says I was ignorant, but those were the best days of his life, and he misses actually those days now. And then he says that, but it's very little joy now to know that he is very far away from that heavenly time of his childhood than when I was a boy. So he says, when I was a boy, I was very close to heaven, very close to nature. I was enjoying the scenery in nature. I was enjoying the bounty of nature. But now everything seems to be lost from his life. So he misses that. So in short, you can say that poet seems to glorify his childhood and laments living as an adult in a society which appears to be less aware of moral, ethical values. So this is the end of the poem. Let's move on to some multiple choice questions. This first one, the sun came peeping through the door, the window, the black door, the creaks. What is the correct answer? It's very simple. In first stanza, poet says that the little window where the sun came peeping in at morn. So little window, this is the correct answer. Very good. Next one, I often wish the night had borne my breath away means. I told you that poet prefers death over that memorable scene in his childhood. So the last option is correct one. The night brought about his death. Third one, the flowers that grew in his gardens were roses white, pink, no. Roses red, white, and violet, and tulips, no. Roses white, black, no. Roses red, white, and violets, and lily cups. This is the correct answer. So if you really wanna know all these answers, for that you should read the poem or recite the poem several times, so that words and key points fix in your mind. Fourth one, The robin built his nest where? On the treetop, in the lily cups, in the lilac, among the violets. So C option is correct, in the lilac. Excellent one. Fifth, the laburnum was planted where? The poet's brother was born on his birthday. On his birthday. Poet's brother's birthday. Excellent. My spirit was in my childhood, but now it's my spirit was actually, do you remember the line? My spirit was light in my childhood, but now it is heavy. He has grown up, it is become heavy now. So light and heavy. Correct answer. In summer, the pools were cool, warm, hot, none. You can say hot because of scorching sun. The fir trees are tall and slender, short and bushy, dark and high, thick and short. So dark and high, this is the correct answer. When in last stanza he says, I remember. The fir trees dark and high. So there, this is the correct answer. Ninth one. The poet thought that the slender top were close to the ground, were beyond the sky, were above the ground, close to the sky. Last answer is correct, close to the sky. 10th one. Thomas Hood was a century poet. 18th, 19th, 20th, 17th. So he was 20th century poet. Remember. 11th. Thomas Hood was dash poet. American, British, Indian, and African. I told you in the beginning when I was telling you about Thomas Hood in the beginning of this video. So he belongs to British. Yes, he is a British. Excellent. 12. Thomas Hood regularly wrote for Economic Times, American Times, British Herald, London Magazine. So this is the correct answer. Thomas Hood, he was regularly writing for the London Magazine. 13th. Thomas Hood died at the age of, I told you, 1799, 1845. So if you calculate, so 45. Thomas Hood died at the age of 45. Second last question. I remember is a dash poem. Reflective and humorous, reflective and imaginary, reflective and emotional, humorous and emotional. So definitely reflective and emotional, because he is reflecting on over his past, and he is very emotional, actually emotional to the extent that he wants to die, because he says that nothing can match his childhood days. Last question. I remember depicts adult fantasy, childhood reality, childhood fantasy with adult reality, adult fantasy, no childhood, no. So the correct answer is childhood fantasy and adult reality, because when he says that he was actually ignorant in last two lines of this poem, he says that it was a childish ignorance. So childish fantasy with adult reality. So you can say there is a kind of, the clash between a childhood fantasy and adult reality in this poem. Hope you understood this poem. It's very simple poem. Thank you very much for your patience, and good